Welcome back, everyone, to the Analyst Desk. We'll be covering picks and bans, but Fnatic, they're on match point against Rogue. A win will secure them a spot at Worlds 2020 and a spot in round 2 of the playoffs. We're going to talk a lot about the draft, but first we got a very telling tweet from VandeR, who tweeted this live just a couple of minutes ago. Okay, guys, but how do we draft? That's not giving me a lot of confidence. I don't know about you.
I wonder if it's how do we draft against Fnatic or how do we draft ourselves. I'm not sure which one the answer is.
Okay, yeah, it could be. So let's see if we can help them out a little bit.
From scrolling through the thread, there was a lot of ban illusion. I kind of agree because we don't know if Nemesis has another AD mid lane champion that he can fall back on. And if he goes for Lucian again, it opens up those AP picks.
I think it could be Tristana. I think
that's true.
Tristana is a good champion with AB champions, so if the Lucian does get banned out, maybe Tristana comes out. I don't think there's many other AD champions unless you want to go towards assassins like Zed, Kiana, Yasuo, stuff like this. So definitely stay with the marksman. So I think either Tristana or I'm not really sure. So
there's definitely options. So you do put yourself in between a rock and a hard place if you're going to think, oh, are we going to ban that Lucian out? That might open up a couple of things for Selfmade as well. We looked at what could be kind of the key picks in this series, and they're all Fnatic picks just because they have been the innovators this series so far.
Yeah, and I think we already covered the Lucian. The other one for me is looking at the Evelynn, who's not spelled properly there, but it's close enough. But I feel like it's not just necessarily the Evelynn pick by herself, because I think that we're going to see Rogue probably ban that champion again, but it's almost Selfmade's entire champion pool right now, because when he's going to these strong scaling junglers, it doesn't feel like Inspired is willing to match him in those scaling picks. So if Fnatic continue to have really strong early games, like I think we've seen from them 2 games in a row, they almost default outscale, at least in the jungle position, and Selfmade does so much damage.
Yeah, I think the Fnatic's general consensus of the comp is generally a bit off-meta. I think when Evelynn's out, the Karthus is not really being seen that much anymore, but I like the way they're drafting. I think that if Rogue kind of shut out the Evelynn, is the Karthus, can you deal with it? I think Rogue style is pretty good, but Fnatic's kind of put all their cards on the table here. It's like, you ban Evelynn, we're going to pick Karthus. What happens if you ban both? Are they going to pick something like Echo?
Maybe. They heard you, by the way. They fixed the spelling.
Thank you.
Calling people out every day. This guy, unbelievable. Can't even get a prediction.
Sorry,
right.
It's her name. If you spelled Ender wrong, I'd be upset.
All right, Indy. In any case, as we go into picks and bans, something, Caedrel, that I want to remind you of. You said in the break, you want to see Finn on a tank. Put him on tank duty.
I feel like when he's playing these carries, I'm not sure if it's miscommunication or misplay, but the Renekton didn't look so hot. The GP, he was making so many mistakes in lane. I think get him on a Sion, get him on an Ornn, get him on a Cho'Gath, get him in team fights. You need some beef in that front line. We've seen the Thresh and the Nautilus and the Sett and the Nautilus and the Sett and the Blitzcrank, but it's not enough. You need more beef, I think.
I also think, like, if you're getting beef in the top lane, that opens up some spice in the jungle for Inspired.
Beef,
does he have
spice? Oh, I'm getting hungry. Let's get a fantastic draft here. Hopefully,
Chefy has to cook it up.
Possibly the final game of the series, but we'll see if Rogue can fight back. They are again on the blue side, so we'll have some opportunities of their own. Do you think we're going to see the same Evelynn ban?
Well, yeah, Rogue has blue side, so they've got target bans, which is super important. Are they going to target the Lucian this time instead of the Evelynn, or are they going to target the Evelynn and the Karthus? Because it doesn't make much sense to just run it back and ban the Evelynn, and then Karthus is open. So I would like to see them ban either the Lucian, but keep the good bans of the Ezreal. I think the Ezreal ban is pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask about that too, because they've done it twice in a row now, and they're going to ban the Shen this time. I'm interested here in what Rogue actually decide to go for, because it doesn't feel like they're the team that can hard pivot a different direction in terms of like overall team style. Like, we know they're always going to be geared toward the team fight in the game, but I still think the best idea is, again, put Finn on a tank, hard play around that bottom side of the map.
I think that if they don't ban Hecarim and I don't first pick it, I think Fnatic can run something like Hecarim or Orianna. I think this is just a good run back for them. They don't have to just tunnel vision on this AD AP kind of comp. You can always go for something like Hecarim or Orianna with an Ornn or something like a Cho'Gath in there. I think that that's a pretty good comp, so I'm interested to see if they're going to ban the Hecarim or they're going to ban the Lucian or are they going to ban the Ezreal.
Fnatic keep removing all these AD carries. It feels kind of bad for Ensemble, but like, yeah, there's the Lucian ban. And this is really nice, because what Rogue are basically saying is they're like, Nemesis, you don't have another AD mid laner. Like, maybe they're not thinking of the Tristana. Maybe that's not even in Nemesis' wheelhouse, because if you take this Lucian, we're not going to see a team run an AP jungler or a hard carry AP jungler and an AP mid. That's kind of trolling.
Yeah, that's kind of trolling. You don't want to run AP mid, AP jungle, especially when it's a carry jungle. So yeah, I think Fnatic has 2 options here. They either run back a normal comp like they have to the regular split, something like a Hecarim or Orianna. Okay, that's why they left the Ezreal open. Or they just run back the Evelynn and they just say, well, you ban Lucian, here's Tristana.
We'll see what happens. You said you want to see Finn on the tank duty, so we'll see what he ends up with. Just a bit of hovers here, and we'll see what he locks in just a second.
I do like Fnatic. They switched their last ban over to the... Don't like that.
Not a fan.
Switched it over to the Yuumi, thinking that with Ezreal left open, that pairing would be really nasty. But as soon as Yuumi's gone, I feel like Ezreal priority does drop a little bit, even though it does work well with other champions.
Yeah, the Ezreal priority drops a little bit with the Yuumi ban. It's still sort of playable. I think it's a really strong champ, but are they going to default to the Senna? That's the big question. They have the Senna, they have the Kalista, they have the Ezreal. It's their first choice. I think Rogue's probably going to run back the Kalista if it's open, because it works so well for them in the last game. So if they lock in something like Senna Nautilus here, Senna Tam, whatever it is, I think that Rogue's going to answer with Kalista.
I still just love this Senna pick, especially because the one staple of Rogue is that they're usually going to be playing melee champions top, jungle, and support, right? And when you have all these melee champions, Senna like increases so much in value. Hansama in the last game you saw, even on the Kalista, shorter range ADC, started to struggle later on into the game when a lot of Fnatic's champions started to outrange her. So this is something I think Rogue need to be mindful of going further into this draft.
Yeah, I think Rogue have a few options here. They have the Ashe, they have the Kalista, really good champs. They have the Ezreal even as well. They've got the Tam Kench, they've got things like the Blitzcrank. If they want to run it back, it's not the best into Nautilus, but Braum could be a good pick here for them as well. Something with team fights, a little bit of engage to follow up on the Gangplank ult end. I'm just interested to see what the Fnatic third picks here. Are they going to third pick top lane, or are they going to just bust out the Evelynn like they did last time? Say to Rogue, well, what were you going to ban out, and then just pull something out on the 4 pick as in terms of an AD mid?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not broken, why fix it? From the side of Fnatic, I also like the Nautilus as a substitution for the Thresh that got banned out. A similar strat behind it, and we've seen also being very influential yesterday. But now we see that third pick, the last one for the first round, for Rogue. What is it going to be?
I like the Akali hover. I would love that to be locked in, but
I like the hover, but when it's like...
It's Larssen.
Yeah, I'm like, Ezreal Azir is like the mid ADC power that Rogue have gone for so many times in this split. Gives you a lot of different options in terms of scaling here. Now, you're thinking of the Evelynn for Selfmade. I feel like you don't go for that now as Fnatic with the option for Rogue to get 2 bans against Nemesis' mid-champion pool. So I think you just match the Azir here.
Well, he's going to go for the Kog'Maw.
Oh, nice.
That's a pretty good matchup. You have the good poke coming out from Kog'Maw. I mean, Rogue left support till 4-5, so I imagine Fnatic might try to ban them out, but I'm sure they're confident they've got like Taric, Braum, Alistar, things like this, so they're absolutely fine on the support. But I'm just curious to see what junglers get picked here, because Sett is still up, you've got the Sejuani, the Hecarim's still up, so there's probably going to be a lot of jungle bans here, and I'm thinking Fnatic's going to pick the strongest one, probably on 4, unless they just want to counter-pick jungle if most of them are banned out. I
mean, I think you're totally free to counter-pick jungle, because you already see the Gangplank up on the top side of the map. Like, Bwipo can run whatever he wants into that. He can go for the Ornn again, give the really strong scaling options to Fnatic. I would expect that Rogue banned that away after seeing that taken off the board, but we've also seen Bwipo go for the Cho'Gath in this matchup up against the GP2, which I think would be totally fine.
But I like the turn here. They're banning out Engage, which is really good. They have the GP, ban out the counters. The other counter I can think of really is the Cho'Gath, which Bwipo's been playing with pretty good success. But they could ban out champions like Sion as well, but we'll see what Fnatic bans here second. Are they going to keep banning supports, or are they going to look to ban out something like the Sett?
Yeah, I actually think the Bard ban from Fnatic is really, really smart. It gives like powerful 2v2 laning for Hansama and VandeR, and also that ultimate, when you think poke champion in the mid lane for Nemesis, that ulti can be really strong at catching out players on top of the GP ult for that long-range engage.
I also like it from the side of Fnatic. They're saying, we're not afraid of what you're going to pull out in the jungle. We'll have something for it, but we are kind of afraid of what VandeR could do after that Blitz performance, so we're going to try and limit him in what he can go for.
Yeah, completely agree. So there's the Cho'Gath ban. So I'm interested to see what Bwipo's got here. Is he going to pick the Urgot again? It's not too bad of a matchup. I remember he really likes that matchup. Is he going to go for something like the Renekton? It's not the greatest, but is he going to pick a carry is the question, or is he just going to default to something like the Sion?
I'm thinking
Bwipo special.
Yeah, I feel like Bwipo would probably go towards a tank here if Selfmade's trying to play carry. But it's really telling who gets picked for here on 4, what this style is going to be. Because if it's Bwipo, it's probably a tank. If it's Selfmade, then Bwipo's going to look for the carry option.
Yeah, I like the choice. It's good engage. Give some beef to the Kog'Maw Senna, because they're quite long-range carries. Having something with engage to follow up with Nautilus is really good. But yeah, like we said, banning out support's not going to do too much. There's quite a lot open for the side of Rogue, the Braum, the Alistar. Taric, even such like that, all 3 of them offered right there.
I feel like Taric really is not the best here, because right now Fnatic have a lot of tools like poke from really far away, and like not actually full commit to a fight.
Okay, they go for the Sett jungle, so they're still thinking about support, it seems. They're hovering supports, looks like they're still thinking about it. But Pantheon would be quite aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, with Pantheon, it gives you a lot of globals, so you can try to force fights post level 6 in the mid game. which I kind of like, trying to force fights before Nemesis reaches his item breakpoints on the Kog'Maw, because I feel like Kog'Maw does go through some dips in the game, but with the Braum lock-in, I'm really concerned for Rogue's engage options here against the Kog'Maw and the Senna. Like, they can literally just play super late fights, never commit into it until Rogue are all half HP.
Yeah, Rogue has like a front-to-back comp here. They don't have much engage. They're hoping the Sion goes in first. Azir and Ezreal should be able to free hit, maybe use the Sett ult to disengage, but they can go for a carry jungle here. Evelynn would be fine, but they have got the AP Kog'Maw mid. But something like a Kha'Zix fits into this comp really well. Even things like the Nocturne, stuff like this, a farming jungler fits in really well unless he wants to match with something like a Sejuani or something, but they're going to go back to the Evelynn.
Back to the Evelynn, and I gotta say, it just spells to me the same thing that we've seen now for 2 games in a row. It's Fnatic in their comfort zone with a couple of adaptations, but Rogue still going for the same thing. What are they gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Rogue don't have a lot of great options. This game, the early game is actually really weird because I don't feel like either team has a ton of playmaking, and Inspired would ideally like to play around some of these lanes, but is probably just going to default to focusing on early objectives for his team. I feel like this is a draft that Fnatic really won, and I'm not convinced that Rogue are going to have what it takes to keep us in this series.
I still think Rogue's draft is pretty good. They have incredibly good scaling on both their carries, really good scaling on GP. If Sett can get some early dragons, it's super useful. And I think Kog'Maw and Senna might struggle in teamfights with the GP ult on top of them. They might not be able to do too much damage, and I think Sion can get burst down quite quickly with the carries on 2 to 3 items.
Yeah, I think our worry comes from the fact that, well, Rogue hasn't been able to do that much in the early game, especially not in game 1. Slightly better in game 2. We'll see what happens. Rogue with their backs against the wall in this game 3.
And on to Summoner's Rift we go for what could be the final game of this week of LEC Summer Playoffs.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
I kind of got to say it, I'm not a fan of Rogue's draft. I feel like that they've kind of stuck with what they know, and I get it, but like, I feel like that Fnatic's comp just has an answer to everything. I feel like it scales better. I think it matches them in the lane. Like, Rekkles and Hylissang should have prio in this 2 versus 2. Nemesis should be able to match and outscale with the poke. They have backline access and threat with Selfmade, and Fnatic also have a stronger frontline. And also, even with the Gangplank ultimate, when you would typically say you want to play through bot, Ezreal Braum is not an easy bot lane play that you can look to play through, and the Azir doesn't give you a lot of roaming options either. So I feel like that it's more on Fnatic to make a bunch of mistakes in order for Rogue to actually try and find advantages in this game.
Also, when you consider this Kog'Maw, Caedrel was talking about how the Gangplank ultimate could be pretty influential against low mobility carries like this Kog'Maw, as we do see a delayed invade. But Kog can actually really safely hit anyone he wants to once he has access to level 16. Even if a Gangplank ultimate goes down, it's almost impossible to zone that champion out of a fight come late game.
Right now, Selfmade has given up the fight over this blue buff. Hylissang just made it reset, and actually Selfmade could come around the corner here after he takes the first wolf. Here comes Hylissang as well. Inspired does have the smite. VandeR here to defend. Ignite goes down onto Inspired. Selfmade gets it, and Inspired has to flash away. Now VandeR caught out. He has to use the heal. And this has gone from bad to worse for Rogue.
That's absolute disaster. Selfmade just like, thanks for the leash. Huge credit to Hilly as well. Again, it's so important for Evelynn to get through those 2 first clears to get to the level 6. And now Ezreal also taking extra added damage.
Rekkles is level 2. Larssen basically going to catch out VandeR. Now VandeR does still have the flash. Rekkles still has his only heal in case anything goes any further. But, like, this is a diabolically bad start for Rogue.
Oh, and now Selfmade is making his way bot as well. Remember,
but wait, there's
lots
more.
Of flashes, but only level 1.
And Summer only level 1.
The minion.
Allure goes down. Last embrace going to land as well. And Rekkles continues to force Rogue out of lane. Hans Summer and VandeR have burnt their flashes. Hans Summer's going to use the TP to get back into lane. But right now, Fnatic are just smacking Rogue around.
So,
teleport.
Oh, Inspired's here as well, but Inspired doesn't have flash. Oh, Hylissang flashes, hooks the wall. The last base doesn't land. Inspired will have the Haymaker here, but Selfmade's going to put some damage down. The Haymaker could do a lot of work here. And Rogue, VandeR trying to get away. Hylissang on the front line. Inspired falls. Hylissang goes down as well, but now Selfmade with the doubles. It's healed up by the piercing shadow, and Summer will get the kill. Rekkles will answer. A double to the Senna. Fnatic find 3 kills in the bottom lane.
and everything is going right for Fnatic. Everything is going wrong wrong for Rogue, and it all starts with the invade. Selfmade with the 5-head clears his wolves because he sees the blue buff gets reset. That gives him level 2, that gives him more damage on his smite, that allows him to steal it away. That also forces the flash out from Inspired, who, after only clearing his red buff, comes towards the bot side of the map to try and punish Rekkles and Hylissang, but he doesn't realize Selfmade is still here.
Oh,
yes, the flash hook does not quite pan out for Hylissang, but Inspired, nice little sidestep so that he doesn't get taunted, but it doesn't matter. While initially this play looks very promising for them, VandeR's still only level 1. Fnatic have such a huge level advantage here that they're able to quickly kill 2 members, and while Handsummer does what he can to try and get a kill back, at the end of the day, Rekkles gets himself a double, and a double buff to boot.
It's just disaster, because then the reset comes through, Selfmade immediately walks into his topside camps. He's not feeling too hurt by this, whereas Inspired, he gave up so much to try to get into Evelynn's jungle and disrupt him, but you already talked about, going to the wolf camp and Selfmade getting the edge off of that. It could not have gone worse for Rogue, and now they need to recover.
Look at the items already, right? So Kog'Maw freely got on the tier, right? So somewhat expected, as you would in the mid lane, but now he's going to come back, start stacking that up very early on into the game. Senna grabs the pickaxe plus the cull to the cull on Handsummer. There is a pickaxe difference already in mid. Oh, but they're going for the play.
Rekkles does still have flash, going to use it to get away. Hylissang had roamed up towards the mid lane, something we traditionally see from him, and you mentioned in the last game, Vedius, and Rekkles was left just a little bit on his lonesome self.
To be fair, Hylissang is normally level 4 when he does that, not level 2.
A roam's a roam, Vedi, okay?
Yeah.
The call of the mid lane as a support is always very strong.
To be fair, I quite like that from Rekkles because, in my opinion, I think that if you have flash in a position like that, you should be willing to say to your support, I think the roam is worth it if I lose my flash. And I think that that's what the communication was there. So yes, Rekkles loses his flash, but I don't think it's the end of the world. The wave is stacking underneath this tower. He's going to be able to clear that one out, and it's going to slowly push in their favor. And Evelynn is likely going to be pathing towards the bot side of the map. Anyway, Fnatic can even look for an early Infernal Drake if they want.
And you can see the response from Rogue right now is they're going to try to hard force this. So VandeR's gone through this brushes with the sweeper. He knows that he can get Inspired into the alcove or into these brushes, and they're just now looking for the wave to slowly push back to them and VandeR to connect with the Winter's Bite.
Observers, can we just do a vision toggle as Inspired tries to get into this bush? I just want to watch to see if he can sneak through. VandeR's going to step forward. The Hex Flash coming out from Inspired as well. Going to use that Nimbus Cloak to try and get in, but the Curse of the Black Mist is just going to keep him safe. And now in the top lane, Bwipo is 6. Bwipo is 6. They're trading back in the bottom lane. Inspired has been ignited, but Finn really has nowhere to go. Does have the flash. The chase is on. Bwipo with the decimating smash will take his man down in the top lane.
And Finn has been so exposed this series. Not just weak side top laner, weak series top laner right now. Bwipo is abusing this boy up here, and it is time and time again that he's finding these solo kills, and you just can't afford to have that happen against Bwipo.
And while that's happening, Rekkles and Hylissang survive the gang combat. They even fought Inspired out, and Fnatic seems to be in full control already here in Game 3.
And reminder that, Inspired went down there. You said he was forced out. Meanwhile, Evelynn's just hard farming, just continuing to get farther and farther ahead.
It's basically a 2,000 gold lead for Fnatic 7 minutes into the game. Like, this is just destructive. You can see as well, level differentials. Nemesis only a little bit ahead of Larssen, but Bwipo is almost a half level ahead of Finn. Selfmade to Inspired is basically a whole level.
Look at Selfmade. He's just about to tick over to level 6. He's going to clear the blue buff. Well, actually, he might hand that one over to Nemesis. We'll see. Is he an Ender type of jungler?
No.
Or is he...
He's a Selfmade type of jungler right there.
Listen, what's more valuable? Evelynn ultimate or Kog'Maw ultimate?
Oh, it looks... I think he's going to give it over. Never mind, never mind.
Are we watching the same guy?
Yeah.
Like, did you watch the regular season?
I'm just like, he's playing Kog'Maw mid lane, a very mad
You were like, you were literally in Game 3 of FPX versus GT, like, I think they got a chance!
All right, let's have a look at this. So, of course, Bwipo already level 6, applies the slow.
Did he just... Did he take his hands off the keyboard?
That looks like an AFK walk into lane sort of thing.
He was taking a drink of water. Someone checked for a spill.
It's like when I'm
even
streaming,
the observers zooming in and out, they're like, I don't know what's going on right now.
And I think that, like, it speaks to the way Rogue have performed over this best of 5 series, right? Like, they've looked indecisive. they have made mistakes that we wouldn't have seen from them in the regular season, and they are getting slapped around by Fnatic, who, coming into this playoffs, were the clear underdogs in this matchup, but now are showing why they are so feared when it comes to playoff performances.
Selfmade is in mid lane.
And Larssen almost goes down. Selfmade can't quite get the damage down onto Larssen. Did
Okay.
still have the last caress, but Larssen, with the Emperor's Divide, was able to keep him at arm's bay.
He's going in again, though.
Here we go. And he's going out again. But it's so difficult for Larssen.
It is, yeah.
I think the mentality, though, was still to just get Larsen's flash,
Yep.
which he didn't get.
Oh, ultimate! They're just like, Larssen, we hate you, and we're not going to let you play.
It's like when someone spawn camps you in any FPS, it's just like, hey, there are 5 enemies who only want to kill me. Can the rest of my team do something, please? Well, right now, Finn can't, and the bot lane can't.
Why that play was actually really important is because now it guarantees numbers advantage here on the Rift Herald. Fnatic have swapped their bot lane up towards top side. The flash in from Hilly.
Looks for the hook here. Inspire has to flash away, and Fnatic like, okay, that's all we really needed. Makes it a very easy Rift Herald for us to take. We already have the first dragon. We already have a 2,000 gold lead. We have a Manamune stacking up on Rekkles. We have the tier stacking up on Nemesis, and Fnatic have a very easy way to develop this game and to take any chances away from Rogue.
Yeah, and reminder that both these compositions have scaling, so it's not like there was pressure on Fnatic to get control over the early game and find a snowball. Just a nice little gift-wrapped package from Rogue for them as they threaten the dive onto Finn and then just deny all of this CS away from this Gangplank. This poor guy is starved out. Sapphire Crystal and Coal on Gangplank. That's embarrassing.
It's going to come down. Everything basically misses. Rekkles here underneath the tower. Bwipo's going to fall, and yeah, that's just bad from Fnatic. Let's be honest. They give up 2 kills.
They wanted it. That didn't plan out at all.
I love the way Bwipo charges in and just looks to his... This is why you look left and right before crossing the street, because if Bwipo had looked left, he would have noticed VandeR was on his way.
The hook went one way, the Sion ultimate went another way.
Hang on. Selfmade is in lane.
All right, Rekkles just going to play a little bit past
the Q hit.
Hansama hits the Q out of Selfmade.
Hansama, his spidey senses were tingling.
Oh, Bwipo, round 2? No, he's teleporting bot lane.
Well, he's being gone.
All right, things have been a little bit crazy over the last few minutes. Let's just reassess where we are in terms of game state. Bwipo is really strong. Rekkles now 2-0-2 with the Manamune and the Cull on its way. You can see Selfmade top in the gold charts as well, and Hansama and Larssen just struggling alongside Finn to get into this game.
Yeah, they certainly are. And I think that, again, we need to praise Fnatic's individual prowess. One of the biggest problems they've had this split is different people show up on different days. It's gone from Nemesis to Bwipo to Hylissang to Selfmade. Rekkles has been the only consistent performer, but now it feels like all of Fnatic is playing at their highest level right now, and individually they're looking to pop off. And Selfmade!
So the reason he was so confident doing that was he saw the oranges had just been used by the Gangplank, so he knew he could get that extra damage in. Now with the Rift Herald coming in as well, Fnatic will get the first tower of the game at about the 12-minute mark.
So the reason why they're doing this for the Sion, as Selfmade looks for to be as obnoxious as possible, is so that it opens Bwipo up to roam. His ultimate's going to be back up soon. He can look to reset. He can look to go mid. But now that Sion doesn't have to sit in lane and they can push this wave all the way out, they can look for plays. Larssen going to be forced to disengage, but keep an eye on Selfmade roaming in through the mid lane.
Selfmade's coming up. Hylissang hits the wall with the hook, has been very on point if he has been aiming to be a PvE support in the last couple of games.
But there's the roam that Vedius is talking about. Bwipo is now also into the mid lane, and Larssen, as he's taking this blue buff, is actually zoned away from Selfmade, though he might not know it.
And Spide's so afraid to clear his own jungle because he's like, I don't know if I'm alone, and you're not.
No, there's always someone hiding. Selfmade unable to burst Inspired through the Haymaker, but forces him out of the jungle.
And meanwhile, while all of this is happening, Rekkles and Nemesis getting free time on this mid lane tower, picking up more plates. Now, I guarantee that Finn is going to try to hold that wave on his side of the lane for as long as physically possible. But while he's doing that, it means that Fnatic will have the numbers advantage elsewhere on the map.
Selfmade with the allure there onto Hansama, looking for the charm. True Shot Barrage is going to come out. Tow it down to just a plate and a half remaining here in the mid lane. Bwipo pushing in the top, and as you say, Finn just trying to slowly get this CS. Didn't hold the wave quite perfectly there, and he's actually going to unfreeze it as he puts the barrels down and tries to get the push off. Mountain Drake has spawned, and Fnatic will go for it. Second Dragon of the game for them. First time this series, we have seen them secure both of those early objectives.
Fnatic are looking clean right now. They're looking to make this a quick 3-0, and Of course, reminder that if Fnatic win here, they will lock a spot at the World Championship. They will guarantee top 3 in the LEC as well, and they will go up against G2 Esports next week in an epic best of 5, whereas Rogue will move down into the lower bracket. They will be seeded one step further than Mad Lions because they have the higher seed, and Mad will be going up against Schalke, the team that is very quickly racing for that spot at Worlds. So Mad and Schalke, and again, that depends on the outcome here. Rogue still with a chance. The goal deficit is not dramatic, but again, I said this at the beginning of the game, I feel like Fnatic's comp outscales. I think that Fnatic's comp is going to be very difficult to deal with, and I think it's on Fnatic to make mistakes here for Rogue to be able to really claw this goal advantage back.
And you just, you really feel like we're seeing a resurgence of Fnatic. I'm not going to call it like a full, they're back to their former glory. I'm not going to say they're back to the Fnatic we saw at Athens last year. We saw take G2 to 10 games over 2 best-of-5 series, but we are seeing so much more out of them. We're seeing more decisiveness. We're seeing much stronger early games. Like, in the regular season, they averaged 29 gold ahead at 15 minutes. In this series, it's been at least 1,000 to 2,000 gold in every single game.
I think the concern that I have, though, is that we still don't necessarily know the strength of Fnatic. I think that they got to leverage their drafting advantage that they had over Finn, especially up into the top lane. The fact that I don't know, the blue side bans didn't seem to mean that much for Rogue, whereas against Odoamne, Orome, and Wonders, like the other top laners left, like you don't just get to abuse as hard as you want.
Nemesis has to flash away here in the top lane as Larssen slides in. Finn with the TP is going to join the fray. The Emperor's Divide comes out and Selfmade is having none of this.
Ooh.
Almost gets to go. Larssen just dodges out from the Dawning Shadow. Rogue get their 5th kill of the game.
The hope still alive there for Rogue, and Larssen doesn't pick up the kill, but oh no.
Is he going to do it?
Done.
Like, he's at a level disadvantage. He does have Runic Echoes and a needlessly large rod. He tries to get the damage down.
Forces the flash.
Flash from Finn.
Oh, you don't blame him, right?
I think Finn flashed a little preemptively there. I don't know if he was going to instantly get put at the execution threshold range, but yeah. What I would say, Frost, to comment on your earlier point, I think that if you're looking at this from the perspective of the Fnatic fan, they haven't showed everything that they're capable of yet, right? And so like there's still a lot of questions around Fnatic and what they are capable of. And I think that only makes things more exciting as they go through the rest of the playoffs, because what is the ceiling of Fnatic right now? Because we've seen their ceiling before and we know that it is very high, but it seems that versus Rogue, they haven't had to showcase everything just yet.
I think it is also fair to compliment Fnatic that execution errors seem to be cleaned up. We talked about this last time, where they were forcing fights. They didn't need to force. They weren't playing around their compositions, win conditions. That seems to be very clean right now. So even though there's still some questions on some champions, some matchups, things like that, I think Fnatic fans can at least rest easy in this series that even if you lose here, you will get another shot. And likewise, you're in a position to 3-0. And your team is no longer just running it down and inting when they don't need to.
Yeah, it definitely helps when they're not face-planting into every available opponent. There is a ward behind Nemesis that he didn't catch with his sweeper, and Larssen has teleport if he wants to join a party up here, but instead he's just going to be farming in the bottom lane. It's what we've seen Rogue do in the last couple of games, try and get as much CS onto Larssen as possible, but while they do that, Fnatic have accrued, that's the word I was looking for, a 3,500 gold lead, their 2nd Rift Herald of the game, and there's a minute before the Ocean Dragon comes up. Hylissang goes a little bit too deep here, has to flash away. Piercing Shadow will heal him up. The Facebreaker coming out from Inspired, but he might go down as the Haymaker is not enough to survive through the last caress of Evelynn.
Just trying to force way too hard there, especially without needed information. The thing is that Rogue's lanes have collapsed, and when their lanes collapse, they lost the early game so hard that it doesn't matter how powerful Larssen gets on this Azir. The game's over before he gets to do anything.
So I feel a little sorry for Bwipo here, because he was coming in for a mighty flank. The rest of his team was just like, hey, Bwipo, vision control in the blue side jungle. It's very vital for us right now.
Yeah, man. You just can't get the top laners this day and age, honestly. Honestly. What are we watching right now, Bwipo? Yeah, of course, he was looking for that flank there. He got punished quite hard by Rogue. They will be able to get a little bit of gold in their back pocket, but still, 4K is the goal difference. 4 towers to 0 in favor of Fnatic. They have 2 Drakes. Even though Drake is spawning in 20 seconds, even if Bwipo can't make it in time, he has teleport as well. Fnatic just clean, controlled play right now, and it feels like that they are punishing everything that Rogue tried to do. So, very clean stuff coming out from Fnatic.
Death cap completed for Selfmade though. Now also
18
level 11.
minutes.
He's level 11 on Evelynn with a death cap.
18 minutes.
Look, I'm just going to say, this Selfmade guy's pretty good. Probably should have been
Not
in the
all
All-Pro.
Remember, it is based on regular season.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. True Shot Barrage comes out here. The Smite connects as Selfmade secures the Dragon. Larssen was able to take the in the top lane. And it is good to see Fnatic back on form, you know, playing well once again. It's good to see G2 up there as well. But I will say I'm a little disappointed so far across the course of playoffs in Mad Lions, in Rogue. I was hoping this would be the split where we really saw them start to challenge. The TP comes in the mid lane, and Rogue are looking to do exactly that. Hylissang once again has stepped a little bit too deep. He's down. Bwipo comes in with the TP as well, and he's immediately shuffled back. They're left alone by the rest of his team. And Bwipo and Hylissang have tossed a coin, and it came up tails.
I was gonna say, that's the Fnatic I remember.
I was gonna say, I mean, like, it wouldn't be Fnatic if we didn't have a bit of Hilly and Bwipo, you know, running it down. I will say that I think the Rogue are punishing them well, and you know, we've been talking about this game. The only way I see Rogue really being able to reclaim control is if Fnatic makes mistakes, and right now, Bwipo and Hylissang keep getting caught out.
Now, the Dragon Soul is going to be available for Fnatic in 4 minutes, so there's still quite a timer on Rogue that they're kind of running out of chances here since both compositions do scale very well. And oh, that was his life flashing before his eyes right there. But a bit of a breather. I think one of the biggest issues is that Larssen is sitting with 4 assists, and Finn has been the big beneficiary of all of these kills. And yes, that does help this Gangplank kind of climb out of the hole that he was put himself into. But to be very frank, in terms of impact and in terms of player that when your back is to the wall and who I want all my gold on, I don't want it on Finn. I definitely want it on Larssen. So, Finn, balls in your court, buddy.
And Larssen has even gone for the Banshee's Veil second item here to try and, you know, stop
Survive.
Selfmade from bursting him, stop the damage coming out from Nemesis, but it's so easy to proc the Banshee's Veil because you have living artillery. Like, you have this ability just to hit him with one long range.
Bye, Hand Summer. Bye, Hand Summer.
I blinked. I blinked and I missed it.
Hex Drink is like, I'm sorry, what? You know that meme? You know the guy that he's kind of looking and he does the blink thing? That was Hexstringer right there. It was
Hand Summer is the dog in the middle of the flaming room. This is fine.
Oh my word, wow.
It's like, I used E, Hexdrinker, and Flash, and I still died.
Yeah.
Should have taken Cleanse.
Every AD carry in solo queue right now is like, all right, I've got a new ban on my list. It's like,
Oh, Fnatic. Beautiful stuff once again from Selfmade, showing us just how impactful he can be on this Evelynn. And we did after game 1 say, hey, Rogue, just ban the Lucian. Just get rid of it.
I mean, yeah, turns out I was wrong. You also need to ban
Exactly.
the Evelynn.
Like, you gotta ban Lucian, you gotta ban Evelynn, because Fnatic are turning up the tempo. 5 turrets to 2, 3,000 gold lead, and now have 2 minutes left on the Ocean Dragon.
At the beginning of the day, we talked about how this was going to be a series of faith for both teams. Faith in Rogue, that they could finally be one of these great teams that Europe could be proud of. Not just our first place consistent team, but someone that you were excited to send to Worlds. Whereas on the other side, the Fnatic faithful being rewarded. Can this team actually have the playoff buff? The answer is absolutely. Oh my God.
Yep. You know, I was a bit of a doubter. I expected Rogue to come in strong, and right now Fnatic are turning up. TP flank comes in from Nemesis.
It's the dog versus the bird, and currently the bird is winning as the Emperor's Divide will stop Bwipo in his tracks as well. And Larssen did have to burn Flash, and Emperor's Divide to get out of that, but is able to survive.
That was as anticlimactic as Mad versus G2.
Or was this series?
Wow, you guys are brutal today. All right, fair enough. I'm just going to move us along. Fnatic still sitting with a convincing lead right now, sitting with about a 2k gold advantage. The Ocean Drake spawning in about 1 minute and 15 seconds. And with so much excellent vision control, this gives me a great opportunity to use my tool. You can see great wards all over here. That's likely that this Rift Scuttler is also going to be taken down. And Fnatic right now denying all vision, which means that Rogue, if they want to get themselves a Drake, are going to have to face check an Evelynn. And I don't know if you guys have been watching. I don't want to face check an Evelynn.
They also don't really have great champions for face checking. You basically have to
It's
send Inspired in there, and you're behind and be like, okay, buddy, it's all you.
It's like, listen, we get it. You're our smite, you're important, but we're here for moral support. I mean, you could use Ezreal Qs to check, and to be fair, Rogue have been able to claw back some of that vision, but it's those flanking TP wards you got to be careful of. Of course, Bwipo and Nemesis no TPs, so not that threatening, to be fair. But right now, both teams contesting for that midway.
Now, Selfmade's actually on the top side of this. Fnatic might just go straight to the Baron. They have a Kog, they have a Senna, they have a lot of damage.
Absolutely what they're doing, but the same problem still exists. Rogue needs to blind face check.
True Barrage going to come out. We'll catch Rekkles and Nemesis, but that Baron is already down. And you can see Rogue don't even know how low it is, nor do I. 8,000 HP left on it. As Fnatic now might just disengage. They can look for the unstoppable onslaught. Bwipo can charge his way into the fight, but Rogue have just been able to disengage it. What did Fnatic get out of that? Well, they got the True Shot Barrage, not too much more. Bwipo now stepping forward. The pain train finds its home, hits on Inspired. The Showstopper coming up to the back of the line as Rekkles is caught out by himself, but on the front line is Hylissang. Rekkles should be able to take down Inspired. One more auto attack will be enough, and now Bwipo trying to get across the wall. Summer, Finn, and Larssen on the chase.
Watch Selfmade.
Damage available still for Rogue as Larssen shuffles forward, but we're going to get pushed back. And that's another kill, but here comes Selfmade looking for Larssen. Just needs that last caress. Nemesis will take the kill in the end, and Nemesis continues to rain down hell upon Rogue. Summer and Finn have got to do something very special because the Ocean Soul is on the menu for Fnatic. Selfmade still able to get in there, still able to use that passive. And you can see it's so hard for Summer and Finn to do anything, but the TP is going to come in from Rogue. It's Braum going to join the fray, but this is an Ocean Soul. And Rogue, you got to do something about it. Summer has TP as well. Good back. The True Shot Barrage coming out. VandeR, do you have the smite? He's trying to shift over to it. He's just used the heal. The smite will be available. Selfmade won't go down, but it's stolen as Summer secures the Ocean Dragon. VandeR takes the kill on Selfmade.
An absolutely hero play there from Rogue. Now they are starting to get cleaned up on the back half.
Yeah, Rekkles turning it back with the last embrace, but now he's
teleport.
too far forward. Is Inspired, comes in with the smite, and Rekkles goes down. Hylissang's joined the fray now, and Bwipo has the flank position, but Nemesis isn't there, isn't available to help out his teammate. Bwipo's going to try and get away. The Winter's Bite doesn't quite connect as Larssen now stepping forward. Does have the Emperor's Divide if he wants to go any further, and it looks like Rogue will just back away in the end. They got the Ocean Dragon. That's all they really wanted.
And that was it, though. That was going to be the climax there for Fnatic. If they had won that fight, immediately the series was going to end. Rogue barely survived with their lives and with the lives of this series. They managed to outmaneuver it. They survived the mid-game or the mid-lane fight, and then also steal away the Dragon Soul to buy Larssen some more time to find another strong fight. Absolutely hero play from Summer to get that steal.
I think what was crazy about that fight was the positioning of Rogue. This wall that you're seeing Hylissang walk past right now made it very difficult for Selfmade to get a clean flank onto the back line, and that meant that Larssen and Summer could actually just focus on a front-to-back team fight. Once they killed Bwipo, things got a little bit easier for them, but then Fnatic chased them down, of course. So a very close back and forth, 12 kills to 11. Finn still very strong on this Gangplank, working towards the Leandries, and a lot of summoner spells have now been burnt, so Rogue still in this fight.
And also there's the fact that Selfmade no longer just has the massive level advantage that he's had for majority of this game. Since we've all been grouped up and it's more about these 5v5s, he no longer has the same just raw damage outburst. I'm very nervous.
Yeah. I think we all are as Rekkles steps forward, takes a little bit of a chunk from the mystic shot. VandeR on the front line, Showstopper coming back. Rekkles down to half HP. The Dawning Shadow's going to shield him up, but VandeR and Healy had the flank here. Inspired forced away. Larssen stepping forward though, and Selfmade isn't going to be able to get into this fight quite yet. Nemesis and Bwipo trying to defend, but Bwipo goes down once again, left alone by his team. He's going to try and get some zombie form damage down, but Fnatic only have 3 members left alive. And as Bwipo falls, Rogue are clawing their way back into this game. Fnatic trying to do a traditional Fnatic thing as they hide in the bush, and Summer taken out by Selfmade, chased down with the Whiplash, and now Larssen's the next on the menu as the Living Artillery's going to come down. Finn with the barrels trying to put Nemesis in his place, but for the moment, Rogue will back away, and I don't think Fnatic are going to turn their eyes to the Baron quite yet.
All right, we've gotten quite a lot of ARAMs so far in this game, and I think that a lot of these teams they've kind of moved past setting up around these objectives and they're just looking for these fights in mid lane, but Rogue are doing a great job of just playing things front to back. They're trying to use the strong range that they do have with Azir and Ezreal to just chip away at the front line and then hopefully be able to collapse on the rest of Fnatic. But the problem is, every time Rogue try to then chase down the Kog'Maw or the Senna, Evelynn is lying in wait. The second you overstep, there's the risk of you getting executed, and Kog'Maw does such a great job of just keeping you at arm's length.
Rogue are a team that have so strong fundamentals that they'll always go back to mid lane priority. And again, everyone knows that. It's like the bread and butter of League of Legends. And so constantly Fnatic are just challenging them on trying to force mid-priority, getting these engagements and seeing who that they can pick off, what flashes they can get to make it easier the next time they look for these fights. I think that teams need to get more creative about playing these side lanes, which you are starting to see to some extent, or they're just trying to neutralize the side waves, pick up some of the free farm. But this is what I want to see. Use the power of the Evelynn, the pressure that she provides over the map, and find a pick instead of just going for that mid-priority contest to see who can move into one of the objectives, the Drake or the Baron first.
Well, we know what the next objective will be. It's a minute before the Ocean Soul, so let's take stock of where we are. 2,000 gold between the two teams. Flashes up. Only Larssen and Finn. VandeR lack theirs. Fnatic only have a flash on Rekkles. Hylissang's is up soon, though, and so is Bwipo, so they can use that in the next Dragon fight. Item-wise, we're sitting at 3-item AD carry for the Ezreal, 4-item AD carry for Rekkles as he finishes his Mortal Reminder. 3 items on Nemesis, only 2.5. And now 3 as the Rabadons is complete on Larssen.
Yeah, that was the big thing. The fact that Larssen now has that death cap available to him, as well as the Maw completed for Ezreal. Maybe Hansama doesn't get deleted from a fight this time around.
I will quickly note, a lot of people ask us about Liandry's on Gangplank. The tick damage is so powerful with your ultimate. You have a lot of shots coming out quickly, so you can stack up the madness. It's pretty common these days and can do a lot of work in team fights.
Notice that
Kog'Maw 16.
both teams right now posturing around mid. Ooh, that's a lot of damage onto Bwipo. Hylissang goes in.
Larssen has to get away from the depth charge. True Shot Barrage coming out. Selfmade still hanging on the edges.
And you were just talking about the Liandry's on Gangplank. The fact that Finn, level 16 now, still holding on to his ultimate, saving it for this dragon fight, as the level 16 Kog'Maw is still chunking them. Finn needs to be picture perfect with this Gangplank ultimate to maximize the damage and to dissuade Kog'Maw and Senna in the back lines, because their range at this point is absurd.
Finn's looking for flank position. Finn's trying to get all the way behind them here as VandeR takes down to about half HP. The Liandry's is taking the cannon barrage, going to hit onto Rekkles, hit onto Nemesis, and here comes the showstopper as well. Selfmade has to use the ult to try and survive in the pit, and is stolen away once again. Inspired gets it. He pays for it with Finn's alive, but Fnatic lose one, lose the dragon for the 2nd time in a row, and Rogue are able to get out.
Ends up being a 1-for-1, and Rogue is still relevant in this game. They are making Fnatic work for that 3-0, and they want to showcase that they can still go to-toe with Fnatic. We've seen a couple of mistakes from Fnatic that Rogue have been able to punish, and I think that was a great flank from Finn. He was able to split up the Fnatic squad with his ultimate, and they were able to secure that Drake.
It was the fact that Rogue have finally gotten to the late game stage. They finally gotten to the point where everyone has their core itemization where it's turned on, and you can see one of the big strengths of Rogue is still their team fighting. So Fnatic in these first 2 games really beat Rogue and snowballed and beat them around the map in the early game. And yes, Rogue do normally also have a strong early game, but you needed to get here, and we finally did.
I think one of the biggest things was that Kog'Maw didn't have blue buff. And because of how often you spam your abilities, blue buff is really important, especially in these extended fights. So Fnatic couldn't properly utilize the poke of the Kog to its maximum extent because Nemesis had to be really cautious about how he was using his mana. I think in the upcoming fight, that's also something to note, considering he will likely have the death cap as well. Because the scary thing about Kog'Maw is, like, Azir kind of gets to a point where he's definitely very strong, and on many AP champions they get, you know, stronger the more AP that they build, but Kog'Maw, I feel like that every new item he ascends to an entirely new level of power because of how well or how much damage his ultimate can do and how well he scales with levels. So I feel like the next Drake fight, the next Baron fight, the next fight, Nemesis is the player to watch because he can do a lot of damage if it weren't for VandeR's shield there. Just look at this.
It's the take damage from the Liandry's as well. It just slowly works you down. Hylissang on the wrong side of the wall right now, but should be able to get back to the rest of his teammates as Rogue just try and clear out some of the vision. Fnatic setting up around the Baron. If they win this fight, you have to feel they win this game, they win this series, and they win a position in Worlds. Rogue trying to stop them in their tracks, trying to start the reverse sweep happening, but for now, Fnatic have already started up the Baron, 8,000 HP on it. Selfmade was caught out, he was spotted. Hansama jumping forward. Could flash the wall, decides against it, hits another Mystic Shot though, and Selfmade is down to 200 HP. If Bwipo realizes, probably don't want to stick on that Baron too much longer, you don't have a smite. Selfmade Oh, he snuck all the way around. On Summer, he's behind him. Depth charge coming out, but there's the arcane shift across the wall. Selfmade's still trying to get in. Dawning Shadow, there's the charm. Selfmade dives into the back line. And quickly, 3 players from Rogue are deleted. Last caress from Selfmade alongside the damage from Rekkles will make it 4. And Rogue, they tried as they might, but you cannot stop Fnatic.
And Hansama tried to be the hero right there. He went over the wall. He was trying to find Selfmade. Thought, do I flash? Do I not flash? He waited for the E, and then the nerf really bit him in the ass there. He had to flash back against the wall. Selfmade saw his moment and ripped him apart in the same way that Fnatic have ripped Rogue apart.
Finn's TP was cancelled by Hylissang, and you have to think he's not going to have enough time to get back here. In fact, even stopping his base. Fnatic, you can never count them out. They outlast Rogue, and they book a rematch with G2 next week.
Convincing series from Fnatic, a commanding 3-0 Game 3. Definitely a little bit shaky. Rogue showcased a lot more in their ability to fight and punish some of the mistakes from Fnatic, but at the end of the day, Fnatic, they were able to outplay, they were able to outscale, and they were able to outdo Rogue, and they will lock their spot at the World Championship.
Death, taxes, Fnatic out Worlds, Fnatic and G2 in a best of 5.
And that's the famous saying, it's the LEC, everyone beats everyone, and in the end, Fnatic at least get to fight. Not much anymore.
They haven't gone there yet.
That's true, that's true. They are top 3, definitely. It does mean that Mad will play up against Sjokz in our first game of next week, I believe, to see if they can make it to Worlds. But one of those 2 teams, either Mad or Sjokz, will not be going to Worlds this year.
Mad sweating right now.
Yep. Probably panting a lot. That's how cats sweat, right? Through there.
And I do think that Rogue, while disappointing in this series, like, you're also going up against a Fnatic that showcased a lot, and I think that Rogue have to go back to the drawing board. There are clearly draft questions that have to be answered because it feels like that they are predictable, you can plan around it, their playstyle is linear, and unless they find ways of changing this, teams in a best-of-5 series will continue to adapt and will continue to shut them down.
I just feel like, while I agree, they're also predictable in draft because they have limitations in their effective champion pools. And that is something that you can't solve. You know what I mean? Like, if they could play anything, then the draft becomes much easier to solve. But if you can't solve the draft because your players cannot play things to certain levels that you need them to play, Rogue can't fix that in time.
Or maybe not in time, but hopefully they can at least bring something new to the table. However, for this series, your key player of the game votes are at LEC on Twitter. Selfmade, Nemesis, and Rekkles. I'm pretty sure I know who you're all going to vote for, and we're actually going to hear from him soon. Before Rekkles joins us in PGL, we'll hear from Selfmade. Stay tuned.
And welcome back to day 3 of the LEC Summer Playoffs as Fnatic defeat Rogue here and will face G2 Esports next week. And I have Selfmade with me to talk about this series. Thank you for joining me and congrats on winning this one.
Thank you.
I gotta say, coming in today, I had no idea what to expect from this series. I thought it was going to be a storm from both sides or an even series. But I mean, you obviously did your homework. So talk me through the preparation and work to be ready and on point today.
I mean, basically our preparation was that we decide I'm gonna play carry junglers, and that's pretty much it. That was the whole prep.
All right. Other than that, I mean, what did you think about Rogue here today against you? Anything they could have done better, according to you?
I mean, of course they could have done many things better. You know, I think both teams played really boosted. I think the level of the series was bad from both sides, but I think we just had much better prep and we had much easier drafts to execute, I would say. We weren't under like big pressure to do things early game, and that's why we won. But that's usually how it is on stage games. People are playing less aggressive, right? Like you could see in first game and second game. But then in third game, it felt like, you know, they were 0-2 down. They had nothing to lose, so they decided to choose us level 1, which failed pretty hard. And then the game just turned into typical European scrim.
I want to follow up on what you just said right now about both teams playing bad. What did you do wrong here with Fnatic? And I mean, is there anything you can learn from this series to make it better next time?
Well, personally, I don't think I did that many mistakes individually, but as a team, we had many int moments, and for sure, you can always learn something from every game, right? But like right now, I don't really think about any specific things that we can take from these games.
Okay.
So, right now, we just won series 3-0. Now we're gonna relax, and most likely on Monday we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, you can, and you were mentioning your own performance. I get that as an Evelynn main, because that's what I heard. You must be pretty happy to have been able to play the champions twice in this series, and your whole performance got you the player of the series here from the community. So anything you want to tell me about this, or maybe thank the fan?
I mean, for sure I'm gonna thank the fans, right, for voting for me, but I would give it to Rekkles. And actually, no, I would give it to Nemesis. I think he played all 3 games so much better than he played whole split, let's say, right? He really stepped up, and he was completely different player than we've seen the whole split. So I would give it to Nemesis. And talking about like playing carry junglers, I'm just piloting the champions, you know? It's up to the whole team to actually set me up for a success. So...
Well.
But yeah, I'll take those, you know.
You can take these, of course, but nice praise for all your teammates here. Anything special after this series, maybe, that you won? What does it mean?
Wait, what do you mean, anything special?
Worlds?
That's cool.
That's it?
I mean, yeah, we just made it to Worlds, you know, but making it to Worlds and then actually making it further to Worlds is a different story, right?
All right.
So this is like the third step, but, you know, at the same time, next week we play G2, so might be another 0-3, you never know.
I will take the humbleness for now. Thank you very much, Selfmade, and we'll see you next week again, G2. Hopefully you will do your best here, and we will take a short break, and we'll come back in a few minutes for PGL with these 2 beautiful people and Rekkles.